know which side's better. Oops.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business, where every week we bring you amazing guests who will kick your butt and provide information that you need to profit in your business. And this week we have best-selling author and leadership results coach, Jeannette Seibly. Show us your book, Jeannette.
Yay! And you can see the rest of them behind me.
Love it. It's time to brag. 5 amazing steps to sell yourself. Well, you all, Jeannette, I wanted to have Jeannette on the show because I think so often we worry about promoting ourselves in business, especially women. We worry about being seen as pushy or assertive or aggressive. And we've got to be able to promote ourselves. That's essential, or if we want to stay in business. So welcome, Jeannette. I'm so happy you're here with us.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's have some fun, and we want comments, everybody. So please be sure and comment. And also, I always forget, so I'm going to say it at the beginning. Go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Barnsley Brown. You got my name spelling right there in front of you. And subscribe so you don't miss a single episode of Bold Badass Business every Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. So, Jeannette, I want to ask you this. What really holds people back from sharing really openly what they do?
Oh, there are so many reasons, but I would suggest most of it is just ourselves. It's that little voice between the ears that gets in our way. But to be fair, we've had a lot of help. So if you're a baby boomer or a Gen Xer, you were probably told by your mother, your grandmother, and whatever other matriarch and patriarch in your family that bragging was wrong, particularly for girls.
Mm-hmm.
If you're younger, like a Gen Z or a young Gen Yer, chances are your group, your peer group is what's holding you back. Because there they want people to be all for one, that we word versus the I word.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Right. And so we've been taught really that we can promote other people, but when it comes to tooting our own horn, we shouldn't do it, right?
Well, yes and no. I don't know that we do a good job of promoting other people either. I know I've seen on Facebook before, well, you shouldn't need to promote yourself or brag about yourself because other people will do it for you. And it's like, no, they won't. Number one, they don't know what you've done because a lot of times what we've accomplished, what we're achieving, isn't something that everybody can see. And number two, we're the ones that know exactly what happened. So if we're not out tooting our own horn and getting our brag on, guess what? Nobody's going to do it for us.
They're not. They're absolutely not. And this is the thing is, I've had some experiences, for example, in women's networking groups where there were people who were really what I call hobbyists. They were just there. It was kind of like a social thing for them. Maybe they were married and had somebody supporting them. Usually they did. And so their businesses were not really, they didn't really care about making money. But, I make money in my business and I have for 23 years. And there ain't no sugar daddy. Ain't got no sugar daddy.
I've been looking for one for over 31 years and I haven't found him yet either. So
I know. The last time I was at the Mexican restaurant, I took that cutout of the guy with the Dos Equis, and brought him home. But, he didn't do anything. He didn't make any money. It was like, man.
He didn't write you $1 million check, did he?
He did not write me $1 million check, So it's really important that we really, if we want to be in business, really be in business. Don't just be a hobbyist. If you want to be a hobbyist, that's okay, but know that that's what you are. All right. So Jeannette, getting your brag on, I love that. People talk about she's got swag or he's got swag. So we could say she's got brag, he's got brag. And I think we're taught to have this modesty. We're taught that we don't want anyone to feel pressured, etc. But the truth of the matter is, if somebody is interested in what you have to offer, they may indeed feel pressured, but that pressure ain't coming from you. It's coming from inside of them.
Well, it is. I was on a network call last week and I just got off the call just shaking my head.
Mm.
I had mentioned the Bragg book. I call it also my heart book because there's so many women and men who achieve some pretty remarkable results as a result of it. But anyway, back to that group, they were saying, some of them would talk for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and everybody was already glazed over.
Yeah.
Right. And I interjected and said, afterwards, I said, the Bragg book is really important because it helps us share ourselves and we can do it in 1 or 2 seconds or 1 or 2 sentences and less than a minute. And guess what? We haven't lost other people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh no, you can never use numbers. I thought, huh? Why can't you brag about what you've achieved? If you're just talking to talk, it's going to take you 1, 2, 3 minutes, and you're not going to say a whole heck of a lot. So, for example, I said, hey, I'm a coach, and I go on and on and on about a coach. You're going to go yawn, go away, Jeannette. I already know hundreds of you. But if I say, hey, I'm the leadership coach, and along the way guided the creation of 3 millionaires, guess what? If that's what your attention is, you're going to listen up. But notice I did that in 5 seconds?
Exactly. And that's just
and I use numbers.
Advice. That's ridiculous advice that somebody shouldn't use numbers. In fact, it's quite the contrary. You should be really specific about the results you get for people.
Exactly.
So I love to
That's
take
a
in
brag.
my case studies and be like, yeah, let me just tell you about so-and-so who started at $200 a month. And now she's at between 12 and 18K per month. Yeah. In terms of her income. Or let me tell you about my new client who just booked 2 podcasts and 1 TV show. She's never done either before and had a new client all in her first week in my Make It Happen Mastermind.
This is that didn't take you 1 minute to talk around it.
Exactly.
You nailed it. You got people's attention. You were bragging, but it's like Walt Whitman said, it ain't bragging if you've actually done it.
It's not bragging if you've actually done it. And also, I'm really talking about the results they got. So the spotlight is on them. It's not like I'm so great. The spotlight is on them. And so, case studies are definitely a great way that we can share. And it gives us social proof for other people, that people are working with us and having great results. But it also allows us to really feature our clients. And I think that's so important. So if you're uncomfortable bragging, just brag about your clients and their results, and everybody's going to get it. Oh, well, these are results that they got while working with you.
Yeah. It's very inspirational when you do that. Because if you just go up and say, because I also do talent advising. I call myself a talent advisor.
Yeah.
And I have a really fun story that I share. So if I just said, hey, I go out and reduce turnover, I increase your bottom line, who doesn't go out and say that, right?
Yeah.
But I say, here, let me give you a specific example. So one time I was working with an $18 million company. I took their 42% turnover down to 26% turnover. We did that in 6 months, saving them $250,000. That's 5 numbers, but guess what? It spoke volumes.
Yes.
And that's a brag, but people just don't get that. And I feel sorry for people that are not willing to get present to their achievements. There's, the metrics or whatever you want to call it, but get real, because people cannot read between the lines. Everybody likes to think they're a mind reader. They are not.
Well, you know what I found, Jeannette, is a lot of people don't know their metrics. So that's one problem. They actually don't know their metrics. And so, for example, one of the things I first do in the Make It Happen Mastermind is I teach them a method of making monthly declarations. We don't call them goals. We call them declarations. And they're very specifically constructed. And we track their progress on them throughout the month. And that includes tracking their income, every bit that comes in, every bit of earned income, and every bit of, I call it unexpected income. But most people don't know their metrics at all. And so they'll come to me with this idea of, oh, well, I made X amount and I think I made about this in my last 6 months. And I say, nope, you need to figure out the exact amount and then we'll talk, because we can't be working with, with I made about or approximates. Part of being in business is being a freaking grown up and knowing your metrics, know your conversion rate, know what you have coming in, know how many clients you have, know who your top clients are, all of that. That's it. Just be a freaking grown up.
Well, and knowing how much you have going out.
Yes,
That's part of
exactly.
being a grown up. A lot of people don't really look and say, okay, what's the net? What does net mean?
That is so true. I'm really glad you said that, because you know what? I have to say, and I'm not going to name who it is, but there's somebody I've followed for eons on social media. I've even purchased some of her products or her courses. And I just got this series of emails, and she's just giving up her business that she's had for 12 years. And the story was, and she's a great writer, by the way, and I love her stuff. But the story was, oh, well, I was with my director, and then in this meeting, we just realized that I can't go on, and I had to lay off my people. How does that happen? You are being, I mean, what what thick burlap sack did
Well,
you
and
have
I think
over your
it,
head?
a lot of times, I think it's really a great point you're bringing up, because I know I've hit that plateau. I think you've hit that plateau. Nobody in business has not hit the plateau. The thing is, you either kick butt, kick ass, find the right coach, maybe change coaches,
Yep.
or understand maybe you've accomplished everything that you originally set out to accomplish, even though it
Yeah.
may not be conscious to you yet. And then get complete about that. What did you achieve? What worked? What didn't work? Acknowledge yourself, brag about what you did, and then create some new goals or metrics or outcomes that you would really, really, really love to achieve. And I say really 3 times on purpose.
Yeah. Because we got to really want it. And, we
Yeah.
don't reach one point in our business, I don't believe we do, where everything is done, right? There is always, I call it another level in, not a level up, but another level in. There's always something else calling to us if we will listen. Something that we can develop, a new offering, or, just, yes, there's always that. And, I love to tell the story of being in the middle right after we went into lockdown and asking, God, what should I offer? And the answer was very quick. You need to develop that. You need to do that mastermind you've been talking about and dreaming about for 10 years, but you were too busy to do it. And I literally put it up on Tuesday on social media and ran a contest for one of the spots. And by Monday, I launched it with 13 people, more than I wanted. Yeah,
Wow.
done. So we got to listen. We got to listen. Well, Jeannette, let me ask you, we've alluded to a couple of things that are important in the brag, and that is be specific about what the results are and keep the focus on your clients, because then it doesn't really feel like a brag. It's about, recognizing them and celebrating them. Like, for example, I always, when I have somebody join my programs, I'll pop them up on Facebook and say, please join me in congratulating so and so who is doing this in the world. And, that is a way to feature them, but it also says what? That I have people enrolling and working with me. It's a very nice way to celebrate, but to show the work that's being done. So let me ask you this. What are some other strategies that we can use to brag, but not have it feel boastful to the person who's listening?
Well, it's all in the presentation. So if you go, I'm great, I'm wonderful, you've already shut everybody down. Or if you talk about, well, my company has, $1 million in assets or 20 million or 100 million or whatever,
Yeah.
you've lost them, because people today are going to buy from you. They need to know what you've done. So if you're selling a product, particularly some of these multi-level marketing groups, if you're selling a product, you better be using it, and you better be sharing what you've gotten out of it. Because saying, well, I'm selling this great vitamin, but it's not something I would use
Mm.
isn't going to go very far. But you probably wouldn't be shocked. I am sometimes shocked by what people will say.
Yeah.
If beginning a brag is like really sharing what you've done, what you're up to, where you're going. And I think a lot of times we're just going through the motions. We're sort of like this hamster on the exercise wheel. We just keep going and going and going and going. And sometimes we got to say, stop, get off, and say, okay, what is it that I've achieved? Get present to that and move on. I know, I don't know about you, but I know there's times where I are periods, short periods of time, sometimes a little bit longer than I feel comfortable, where nothing's happening. So if a lot of people are sure listening are like me and you want to beat yourself up with a wet noodle and you want to say, oh, I'm in the wrong job, or oh, life is unfair, whatever it is you come up with, right? That is the time to get your brags out and see what you've done. There's also a really cool exercise. This is what I do sometimes in the middle of the night. Have you ever woken up, Barnsley, in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning, and your mind's just racing? And normally it's the negative stuff. It's not like, oh, great job, girl. Yay, go, go, go. It's nothing like that. So when I do that, I do what's called the alphabet. And it's a twist off the brag. So you go through the alphabet and you say something positive. So A equals amazing. B equals beautiful. I mean, make up your own. What does C mean for you, Barnsley?
Creative.
Very good. D, diligent. E, eloquent. F, fabulous, fantastic. Pretty soon, all that negativity has gone away. And what's now allowed to come forth is the positive thing. Okay, what do I need to do differently to get that next deal closed? Or where is it between the ears here that I'm already creating a much more positive energy? What else do I need to do to take it that next step? And that's all there is, folks. That really is all there is.
Well, I think that the mindset piece is so important. I actually think it's 80% of our success and 20% is strategy. But the thing is, you won't do any strategy. I'm always saying this to my coaching clients: you won't do any strategy unless your mindset is right. So I think that's very important to remember, is that your mindset is the basis of it all. And I like that alphabet game, because that way you can either list those things you're grateful about in your life, or list the things you appreciate about yourself, and go all the way through. And it will change your mindset. You touched upon something, Jeannette, that I think we need to call back, and that is the fact that so many people are distrustful right now. This is a very skeptical and distrustful economy right now. People are worried. They don't know what the future is going to hold. And what this means is that we can't just lead the way some people have, is, get rich quick or do this and, you'll make tons of money. We get to lead with our real selves. We get to lead with who we are and our mission and values. And I think when people understand why we do what we do, for example, I love helping big-hearted entrepreneurs soar into 6 figures and more. However, you're going to hear me say, when I have a bit more time, that the reason this means so much to me is I watched my own mother struggle. She struggled very much with me and my brother and a third child, who was my father. And I want all women to have financial freedom and to be able to leave any untenable situation should there be the need, whether it be at work or at home. That is the basis of why I care so much about people being able to support themselves financially, especially women. And also because I recognize that when we have more money, we're able to give more. We're able to give more to the causes we care about. For me, it's rescue animals. And we're able to just circulate that substance. I call it the substance of God. We're able to circulate it when we have more of it. And so it's not about just the money at all. It's about what's beyond, what's behind the thing that you do. And when you share that vision and mission with people, they're going to get enrolled or not in who you are and what you do. And it's not going to feel like a brag, because when people understand the story behind the story, right? You could look at me and say, oh, she's had it easy, blah, blah, blah. I most certainly have not. When we share those pieces of ourselves that care so much because we've been through a process that was
Yeah.
difficult and challenging, then people connect with us emotionally and they get enrolled in our vision. And it doesn't feel like it's a brag.
Well, and I think you bring up a really, really valid point. I think the problem that some people run into, at least in my experience, and having done this a lot and have worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, is that we carry that around on our sleeve
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to ain't it awful? The economy's horrible. We're either for Trump or against him, or the same with Biden. It really doesn't matter what the name is that they're using.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting into politics here. But my point is that we forget to create a vision, like you just said. We forget to say, okay, I've achieved X. Here's my goal. Where's the gap? What do I need to do to fill that? And sometimes to fill that, we always want to build on a foundation of what we've achieved. But to do that, we first have to get present to what have I achieved? What are the brags or the numbers or the metrics? How can I build on that? What is it I really, really, really want? What's something outside of business that I would really, 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 really love to achieve? I know for me, I've always wanted to be a fiction author. Now I publish, 10 business books or manuals, that kind of thing. And I've been at this for a long time. But in my heart, I really wanted to do a fiction book. So after 20 years, I finally did. And guess what? It's an Amazon bestseller. But I
Yay!
remember there was a point. 2 months prior to this being independently published, where I said, screw it, I'm done, what have you. And the editor said to me, Jeannette, you don't have another 20 years to get that book out. You either get it out now or that's that. And so I think that's something that we have to look at is a lot of times we really focus way too much on the why nots. Why am I not? As opposed to who am I and what can I do? And sometimes that's where you really get your brag work done. Really get your brag on. Or as a friend of mine, Cheryl Hickerson, calls it, share your greatness. She's the founder, CEO of Females in Finance. It's a very large group, very large growing group. She's done an amazing job. And her big thing is, okay, ladies and men, I want you to share your greatness. And she's a big, big advocate of that. But because of that, the organization is growing, it's prospering. People are getting a lot of value out of it, a lot of support. That's what we can all bring to the table. Mm-hmm. We can all bring that to the table. But first, we've got to get this focused on moving forward.
And I believe focused on something much greater than us or our bank account. And I think that's the problem that a lot of business owners have is they don't have that bigger mission and vision that is about really changing the world. And you see, behind every woman that I help, I see tons of young people watching her. They may be her own children. They may be nieces and nephews. They may be interns. They may be people, her neighbors. But behind every woman who I work with, there are many people following her lead. And they'll make their assessment of whether or not they can be in business and be successful based on her. And so I see that.
But I'd like to put a caveat to that being a caregiver is just as important in the world.
Yeah.
If you have a handicapped child, or if you're dealing with a family member or members who have addictions, things like that.
Yes.
Spending that kind of time can be helpful as long as you're getting the support and help you need to not sacrifice yourself.
But I'm basically talking about the people I love to work with, Jeannette.
Yeah.
And those people are people who are newly in business or usually within the first 5 years of their business. And so I am just going to stick with them, stand beside them, stand behind them, give them the gentle butt kick, pull them along, whatever's needed for them to move forward, because I'm aware that so many people are watching them. And in the same respect, for somebody who works with caregivers, that's not who I work with, but for someone who works with caregivers, obviously that person has got a different set of needs. But we've got to be clear about who are we serving and why are we doing it. And again, it's not just about us. It's about something way bigger.
Well,
I want this.
honoring the difference that each of us make, regardless of
Yes,
why. Why are we
exactly.
doing it? What are we doing it? Where are we doing it? Those W's that we've heard
Yeah.
about.
Yes, absolutely. The W's that the reporters, use. What, why, where, when, and
Who, what,
then
when, where, why.
who, right? All of that is important. But a lot of people don't know their deep why. And so this is something that I think when you're in touch with your deep why, it's a very different place to come from. So I know, for example, I had an interesting situation at a women's networking event or a women's networking group where someone had felt intimidated by me and had said this to the board, which makes me laugh. I don't see myself as intimidating, but I've heard it before. All right. And, I really, as the board talked to me about this, I said, this person asked me for one of my complimentary sessions, and I offered her the information, and I said, I just find this so sad that she felt like such a victim that she couldn't just say to me, well, I asked you, but I really don't want it, or whatever. That's crazy. And I said, I got tears in my eyes, and I said, you know what? I'm committed to women being financially free and otherwise free. And how sad that this person felt so small that she felt intimidated by someone like me. And that really makes me sad. I hope you will tell her that I hope she'll come to me and we can have a conversation. But you see, I'm coming from a very different place. There was no defensiveness. And in fact, I don't apologize for offering what I offer, because I know the difference that it makes for people. When you come from that place of, I'm here to serve, then yes, there's no problem with promoting, because it's like, this is my vocation. This is my divine calling. And if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And I hope that everybody listening, I hope you're hearing this, because you definitely have a vocation, which comes from the Latin vocare, which means calling. You have one, if not more. And really listen. And are you living up to that vocation? Are you sharing that vocation? Or are you afraid? Are you standing back and being a wallflower because some third grade teacher said you shouldn't, toot your own horn? Whose script are you following? And who is going to miss out if you are not willing to share how you can help them?
It reminds me of a story. Probably the most remarkable woman in my life has been my mom. She was the breadwinner. My dad had suffered a serious TBI, and it was up to her to be the breadwinner. And back in the 60s, that was a hard thing to be, because all these men needed the job. And she goes, but I need the job too, because I'm the breadwinner. But anyway, to move forward from that story, I remember when she turned 70, she started painting pictures. She was actually really good. And I thought, oh my goodness, to have waited that long. But it's like what you said, back in fourth grade, she had drawn a robin, and the teacher had diminished it, made it bad and wrong. And as a result, she wouldn't touch a paintbrush or a color pen, nothing. But I mean, it was just, but to me, it's like, why wait until you're 70 to do something like that, or 60 or 50? Now is the time, or even 40, 30. I mean, go back, however age you are, just add a couple years, you're going to get to that age, regardless of what you do. Make sure it's been worth your while. Make sure you got some brags in there.
Well, I'm glad she got back to it. And,
they're still on my wall. I got them on my wall. All these
I love it. And all I have to say about her teacher is F you. That's what I have to say. F you for saying that. And that reminds me of a story, Jeanette. Do you know, I actually had somebody say to me This is a family member. I'm not going to say who, but it was a family member. And it was at an event, a Thanksgiving event, where I had a number of my friends there. And this person said in front of them all, well, you know, Barnsley's really big-headed about what she does, but she is really good at it. In front of all my friends. And I sat there and I was like, interesting. And I realized how much that comment really hit me and was hurtful later. So I took some time, and when I was going to get this family member to go on a little trip, and I knew they would be a captive audience in my car, I took the opportunity to say, you know, so and so, remember this, da da da, and you said this. You said, you know, Barnes is really big-headed about what she does, but she's really good at it. I said, I have a question for you. How do you think that comment helps me be a better person? Mic drop. Thud. And, you know, it's one of those moments. So I really encourage those of you who are listening, especially the women, when someone criticizes you, and it may be your spouse or partner, it might be your kid, whoever it is, you know, you get to say, well, how do you think that comment, just in a nice way, helps me be a better business person or spouse or mother or daughter or volunteer, whatever, wherever the source of the criticism is coming from. But we get to address these things, and then we get to listen, and maybe there is a good answer. This person had no answer. They just shut up, and I think they should have.
Well, and it maybe she had a valid point, but just didn't feel comfortable sharing that or what have you. But she did say that you were good at what you did.
It's not appropriate to say that in front of all my friends. It's
well,
so
that is a good point.
appropriate.
But you know, that happens so often in families and in business and in groups and in
It's like saying,
girlfriend
Jeannette, I think you did a great job, except your hair looked really bad in the interview. I mean, what the heck? No, you know, seriously. So
people go, we got to keep them in. We got to keep them in their place. And so that is the whole point here of what we're talking about, getting your brag on, you know, really being present to our greatness, our superpowers, things that we've achieved, so that, you know, as women and men too, I mean, they suffer through this kind of stuff too for different reasons. But, you know, we're not very kind to other people. But, you know, when we're kind to ourselves, we normally have a better chance of being kinder and more empathetic towards others. So,
yes. Yes. And, you know, oh gosh, you're just making me think about so many situations. I remember a fundraiser. I'm an inveterate fundraiser for animals and for people who are homeless and for other causes that I believe in. And I remember I was doing something for kids at Christmas to have gifts, and nobody had taken stuff, or there were very few of the angel tree things taken off, and it just broke my heart. And I remember getting up at my church and saying, you all, I just, as a mom, I said, how many of you here really loved opening your Christmas gifts or your Hanukkah gifts? Let's see a show of hands. Everybody puts their hand up. And I said, well, you remember how excited you were and that you would go down early in the morning? Who remembers that? I remember how you got that one gift and you're like, oh my God, I got the gift. Mine was like the Barbie head. Do you remember the Barbie head? It was just a head, but you could style her and put her makeup on. I still remember my Barbie head.
I never got Barbies, so I don't know.
Well, it was just the head, the hair and the whatever. It was like a head. I was thinking about this the other day. And I remember just, you know, I had somebody afterwards just kind of say, oh, well, you know, you're just, you know, maybe you should stop asking for money or something like that. And I said, you know what? I said, when it involves kids who won't have a gift on Christmas morning, they'll be sad and they won't enjoy all the joy of the season. You know what? I will get up and announce that, and I will ask every single person around me, and I do not apologize. And they shut the F up. And that's where I think we get to be very clear that we stand for something that is way beyond just our own benefit. We stand for something that is way bigger. And whatever that is for you, you want to stop human trafficking, or you want people who are from other countries to be treated respectfully in this country, or you want, you want Spanish speakers to be able to learn English and get great jobs, or whatever it is you care about, or you want to rescue animals like me, to be really clear about the causes you stand for. And I think that's another way that we can actually be heard, not as a braggart, but as a giver. When we situate what we're doing, when we're in our business and we're tithing, for example, to the causes we care about, we're donating to causes we care about. This is very, very important. And we need never apologize for promoting.
Well, and I think that's a brilliant insight, that a lot of times when we want to share an idea and we don't feel like we have the credibility, or we don't have the platform or whatever, don't let that stop you, by the way, hint, hint. But having your brags done, like you have to, in my workshops, you actually write them down. And in doing so, what happens is they're there lodged in your mind. So that when you're presenting an idea, you can say, the last 2 times I tried XYZ, it didn't really work out as well as what you're thinking it will. And here's why. And here's what I did to shift that. And as a result, people are going to listen to you. I remember working with a Fortune 50 company where I had 80 people start a workshop, and this was online, and 80 people complete it. And we did the get your brag on. And what was cool is afterwards, I was asking the event planner, I said, so what was the big takeaway? She said the number one takeaway was they felt more comfortable and confident in sharing their ideas.
Nice.
And folks, if that is the only thing you get out of learning how to brag, that is amazing, because all of us have ideas. All of us have the ingenuity to make a positive difference in the world. The only reason we don't is that little voice in our head that keeps saying, or wakes us up at 3 a.m.
And you know what? When you have haters,
that down is get your brag on.
Exactly. And when you have haters, I'll tell you what you can know. You can know that you have become very powerful and you're an influencer, because that's when you're going to have the haters. And bless their hearts, as we say in the South, just bless their hearts. Let them be miserable, but you don't have to be miserable because they can't deal with your light. Let your light shine. I believe in that. Now, you're making me think of something, Jeannette, and this is kind of fun. Years ago, I took a stand-up comedy class. And there were several women in it at the beginning, but there were only 2 of us who made it through. And we had to present. We actually had to present in front of in a bar, in a comedy club.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really great. And actually, I have a bit of that. I have little excerpts from that on my YouTube channel, by the way, you all. There's one that has IBS in the title, and there's another one about cleaning your house in 5 minutes flat, how to clean your house in 5 minutes flat. Y'all can find them on the YouTube channel. They're really fun. That's a perfect one for right now in the holidays. But what you're making me think of is one way that we can be approachable to people, and it's what you learn in stand-up, is never make fun of somebody else before you've made fun of yourself, right? Make fun of yourself. So I like to say, for example, in my seminars, I'm Barnsley and I'm a recovering academic. And then I pause, and people who've been teachers crack up because they get, they're thinking I'm going to say like recovering alcoholic, and I say recovering academic, and they start laughing. And then I say, oh, I can always tell who the former teachers or teachers are in here. But it's a way to make fun of and have fun and be playful. And also the PhD, I call piled higher and deeper. And then I have some other funny things I say about myself. But I think the story you shared earlier about sharing something that didn't work, hey, when I first tried this, I fell flat on my face. And I want to share to you how I shifted that. So you don't have to have that banana peel moment.
Exactly.
That actually is so powerful because it lets people know that we haven't had it easy. It lets them know that they can trust us, that we're sharing this insider secret, that we really have their best interest at heart, and we don't want them to have to go through what we went through. And it's just a very nice way to temper speaking about all our strengths with those things that we've got that are our F-ups. And we all have F ups. In fact, I have a dear friend who has a show called the F Up Show. And that's where you go and you talk about all the things you've done wrong in business. I had more fun when I was on that show because it was like we were talking about all the money we'd lost by the things we did that were, things we had overlooked, or, maybe we didn't have the contract be exact, or, we let somebody get by with something and then we ended up losing thousands of dollars. We share them.
Lessons learned. And sometimes
Lessons
it's called
learned.
lessons learned the hard way. So.
Right. And the hard way is great. I'm so grateful for the hard way in my business. As people hear me say all the time, it took me over a decade to get into six figures, and I can tell you all the things that don't work. And that can help you not have that. And I can show you the things that do work so you can actually have it happen in a year, usually typically within a year in my program. So it's important to have that evidence, but also, again, to understand that we're doing what we're doing to make the path easier for someone else who's following in our footsteps.
Well, and this is kind of a different way of saying it. It just sort of struck me what you were saying is when I do a debrief with clients, and I do what's worked, and I have them be very specific. So I feel better isn't specific.
Right.
Your increase in revenue, how many people did you help? What was it you said? Like that. But also I have them do it with what didn't work. So, okay, maybe your goal was 100,000 this year, but you only hit 80% of that, or 80,000. You didn't hit it, but knowing specifically what that was is a different way to getting present to your numbers, but also a different way of being able to share that with people in such a way that they get, oh, you're human. I've had those experiences, and look where you're at. I can do that too.
And we get to point out as coaches, and look, you're at 80K now. And when you started, you were at 15. So could we be happy about that? Seriously, could we have a little, I get this all the time with my clients because, it is amazing how much people forget. And that's why I have the tracking system I have, because I like to remind them, no, wait, let's just look at this. You're telling me that you've had your worst, wait a second, you had your worst month ever. Oh, wait a second, go back and count that up. Oh, you forgot this, you forgot that. What about this? Oh, and then you had that big settlement that came in, some claim settlement from whatever Visa, your merchant account, and you got several $1,000s from that. Are you kidding me? So it really is important that we ask those questions, but we also look and measure where somebody's come from and where they've gotten to,
Right.
And I think that's really critical to look at that in ourselves and celebrate it, And what if we brag on ourselves, Jeannette? Who is the hardest person on you? Everybody raise your hands. We can see you. Who is the hardest person on you right now? Who is the slave driver? Who is the one who hits you and beats you up, right? With metaphorically, right? Who does that?
Well, it may be metaphorically. At least we hope it's metaphorically.
We hope it's metaphorically. I mean, I do kind of think that sometimes when we have a guilt complex going on about something, and we'll have something happen.
Sometimes we are guilty of what we've actually didn't do. So we want to be straight about it. Tell the truth, folks. You cannot build on a lie. It's like I said, having a mud pie, putting frosting on it does not make it a cake.
It does not make, and
it's still a mud pie with frosting on it.
And if it's a shit pie, like in that, what was that movie that was so good and she makes the poop pie? Oh my God.
I have no idea.
Good. The Help. I think it was called The Help. And she makes a poop pie because she's got this horrible boss, right? And the boss just loves it.
Oh God.
Even if it's a poop pie, because she put some other stuff in there too. But if it's a poop pie and you put icing on it, it doesn't make it not a poop pie. We got to be real. But how can we brag as we draw this to a close, Jeannette? How do you suggest that people create a way to brag on ourselves? Because it strikes me that we've got to become comfortable with bragging on ourselves, like in private, saying, you are freaking kick-ass, Barnsley. Or, just really really reveling in and celebrating our completions, those things that we do that are hard, that we achieve. And then that way we will better be able to share them with others. So what are some ways that we can encourage ourselves and brag on ourselves?
Well, I'm going to brag a little on the book because that's like a segue into 5
Mm-hmm.
easy steps or amazing steps to get you brag on. The first
Mm-hmm.
3 are what we call KTAs.
Yep.
So you can go to my website, https:// you know how to do that. Seibco, S as in Sam, EI, B as in boy, C as in cat, O.com /KTA / and you can download a free worksheet. And you're going to want to download at least 10 pages of it. Trust me on that one.
Okay,
But
let's
that
get that website again.
okay.
Seibco, SEIBCO.com /
KTA
KTA / Okay.
It's a free
Seibco.com
download.
/KTA / and they'll be able to download this worksheet, which is on what?
Well, that's what's going to get what's next. So the K stands for what are you knowledgeable about? Now, when you do that, I don't want a story about it. And what does that mean? Because we're going to remember, I've done lots of workshops, thousands of people. Knowledge is like speaker, could be sales, could be human resources, it could be gardening, it could be foster cat care. Keep it one word. Don't get into what you've all done because that's where you get yourself in trouble. So just the areas of knowledge, that's why you should have at least 10 pages. Now,
Love
I
it.
remember.
Now I'm going to stop you. I'm going to pause you right here. And I don't want you to tell the TA because I want people to go get it. So y'all got the first one.
Say how to follow it through.
Okay. Y'all got the knowledge one, right? You just got it in a short one, but you need to go get Jeannette's worksheet and do that thing
And
because
the book to help talk you through it.
and get the book.
Seriously, because a lot of times we think we know, intellectually we think we know, but there was a study by the University of Michigan that actually found when you write things out by hand, your engages your mind differently. And that's what we need here. Because remember, you've been conditioned that it's not okay to brag. It's not okay to share your greatness. It's not okay to say, hey, I'm a superpower at this or that. This is a way to break through that. So then with each K, so let's say it's sales, you're going to go through and write your talent for each one. So sales could be prospecting, lead generation, closing, presenting, list everything. That's a verb. And you do that for each one.
I love it. So
and
this
then
is going to really
for achievements. And I won't tell you all that because that's also the secret sauce.
So you all need to go get this because then it's going to walk you through and you can understand all that you've done and you can create what we call a credibility statement that draws on not just who you are in business, but who you were before you went into business. You know, the experience
who else are you? You could be a parent,
exactly.
a grandparent, a foster parent, a foster parent for a dog or a cat.
Yes.
All of these things are important that you write them down.
Are. They absolutely are. And important that I believe for you to know these are your gifts and not everybody has these gifts. You have a set of gifts, you have a set of expertise, education, and skills that nobody else has. And I like to say, you know, if you don't grab hold of that and do something with it, you know, the universe is going to take it to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That idea that you've been thinking about, if you don't just grab it, then that idea is going to float on to someone else who will grab it. And so don't be that person who sits there and thinks about something and wonders and dreams about it and just waits and hopes it's going to happen. That's not how it works, you all. We got to get in motion. Well, Jeannette,
this is our brag on.
We got to get our brag on.
We got to get our brag on so that really gets us, inspires us, motivates us, keeps us moving forward. Put action steps to those words.
Exactly. I love that. Get your brag on and put your feet to it too. So you all, what a great time this has been, hasn't it? And I would love for you to comment and share this, especially with those people you know who are afraid to promote their businesses, and
Or
share it with
themselves.
exactly, or themselves. Share it, share it, share it. And remember that when you go to Spirited Dash Solutions, SPIRITED dash, not underscore, it's a dash, solutions, SOLUTIONS.com, you can help yourself to my complimentary ebook, How to Overcome Overwhelm in 7 Easy Steps. And this ebook is also going to help you as a business owner to stop doing the things that are not working and to create 2+ more hours every day. Yes, I said 2+ more hours every day for who and what you love. The time is now, everybody. And Jeannette, you've just given us so much to think about. And it's time to get our brag on. I mean, Bold Badass Business is the best show out there, you all. And if you are not sharing it, you are depriving someone who could be starting a business of all this amazing wisdom and these guests who come on who are kick ass. So share it, would you? Jeannette, thank you for coming on. We appreciate you. Everybody, go get your worksheet from Jeannette and make sure that you come back next week. And remember, even if you don't feel like a bold badass, you obviously are, or you wouldn't have tuned in today. See you next time.